Yo, and now it's time for fun and experimental stuff. Let's clone 505 INKIE1 or INKIE2, not a big difference which one to choose, because we will end with a loop station on steroids. So new edition, new name. Let's name our project boss LP707. So firstly, let's go a bit through core principles and schematics of loop station, how it works, how the audio is routed inside loop station. So here is the schematics from official manual for 505 INKIE2. We have input effects which are working in a serial mode. So how serial works? Serial means that if you, for instance, have vocals, your input, then you have a reverb, and then you have on top of that filter. Your filter will be at the end of a chain, and it will affect reverb and your vocals same time. So effects stacking on each other. And of course, there's a different way to use effects, which is not present inside 505. It's when it works in a parallel. And in parallel, that means that your effect working in parallel alongside together with your original signal, there will be affected signal, and you can blend your effects into your main signal. And of course, because we're using Loopy Pro, it's flexible, we can use both ways. Then we have 5 tracks, which I can call, it's just channels, because it's basically channels, it's not tracks. I mean, you record in tracks, but you record in channels actually. And these channels could be summarized to one single path, again, same as for your input, but for your output, where you can apply effects, and again, in the serial mode. So by pressing effects button on your 505, you're just saying, this channel will go to my effect bus, and then on effect bus, I can apply like A, B, C, D, like different type of effects. And then by pressing on track 2, you're saying, okay, now my track 1 and 2 go into this bus, and I'm applying effects, and so on and so on. Of course, inside new INKIE2, you're capable to say like, okay, my effect A will apply only on track 1, and that's it. It's restricted to track 1. And of course, we easily can do this inside Loopy Pro. So now let's jump into basic template, which you will see when you open in the Loopy Pro, and I will demonstrate you on the mixer how we can replicate the structure I just told you. So we will go just to a mixer, and as you can see, we have our input, 5 channels, and our output. So for input, it's really simple. You just click plus, you add in effect here, and it works. Then if you want to add another effect, you add it here and it works. And so on and so on. So our effects working in a serial right now because I stacked them. So this is my dry signal, then I applied chorus, and then I applied compressor. So they works in a serial. So for input, basically don't need to invent anything. I just place in effects which I wanted to use on my input, right? Then of course, we can do the same for each of the channels here. Apply different effects. But you may think like, how do we incorporate this style of 505 when you press in effects button and it says like, okay, this track goes to effect bus. That's actually pretty easy to do. So I'm adding here send bus, and I'm creating send for all of my tracks. Now I just can place here an effect, and it's on my send bus. Then what I need to do to mimic the behavior of 505, I need to swipe send and mute the original source. Swipe send, mute the original source, and so on for all tracks. That means that all 5 channels right now is summarized to one single bus. And because they're summarized to one single bus, I can again place here different effects. And let's record some basic stuff here. 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 and all my tracks is routed to one single bus, and that's mimic basically how 505 works. Of course you may think, oh, that's too long to do, I need to rotate this, then I need to rotate this, then I need to swipe this down, and it's like so long. Don't worry, we will go into more advanced template just in a bit. Now let's speak about the workflow, because from my experience, workflow inside 505, I must say it's 75% compositional and maybe 25% is freestyle. 505, INKIE1, INKIE2 by itself is not really great for freestyles. Firstly, because there is a small screen, and the most pushing back from freestyling stuff is lack of customizable controls. Because you have only 16 assignments, you can't do anything more, and that's it. So if we will squeeze all of this into few simple words, how 505 works, like the core principle of 505 is effects, record, effects snapshots, or presets or banks, you can name them whatever. Because after we applied effects, we recorded this, we changed some presets to give a change to already recorded material. And by this we creating some kind of drops, changing of moods, changing of like arrangement, compositional. So that's basically how it works. You just switching effects basically. But of course inside 505 INKIE2 we have a few new features, like killer features is bounce your audio with effects and sequencing your effects. So we will see how we can manage this. I decided to keep it as simple as possible. It could suit for producers, for looping artists, for singers, for piano players, for everyone. And template which I developed will be really easy to use even if you don't have any MIDI controller. But for this video I will use Launchpad Pro MK3. I think this is one of the most popular device for any musician to use because it's cheap, it's flexible, it's cool to use, it's light, there's nothing to break. Probably you already have it, maybe you have a first editions, which is also completely fine to use. So it's flexible. So to summarize, we need to create effects chain like ABCD. We need to create a controls system which will switch presets for these effects, faders, tracks, of course we will need more tracks, more than 5, right? And some additional stuff like sampling your drums and sampling your vocals. So let's go to a project, it's already finished and I will demonstrate you everything. So firstly let's go to the mixer, and as I described before, we have our single line for our input effects and our send bus for our output effects. And of course we can place something on our individual tracks, and that's basically it. This is basically the whole setup for your audio routing. Then we have a MIDI, and MIDI comes from my Launchpad to control specific widgets on the main screen, and to control my sampler. So to demonstrate you how I achieved kind of this effects button to work like the same as on 505 INKIE2 or INKIE1. So I have a effects bus here, and when I press one single button, it's switching my send to send bus, and at the same time turning the volume down of original sound. And I have the same buttons for all channels here. That's basically how we can switch our effects to the send bus. And then we have ABCD for input, effects, and ABCD for output. Same as in 505 INKIE2. And corresponding dials here. Actually, this one a new widget, which gives so many opportunities to tweak your templates. It's, I think for me, it was most anticipated widget for Loopy Pro. And it was created by my suggestion to Michael, to developer, because I wanted to recreate the template for 545, and I faced some you know, some limitations, and basically this widget is working around these limitations. And what this widget do, it allow you to map any parameter, any preset, enable or disable effect, anything for each step. Let's create a widget to demonstrate how it works, because I don't want to interrupt any settings I've done before. So you can add as many items as you want. And as you may see here, the amount of steps is increased. And on each step, I can select or deselect. So that means when it's selecting something, it's deselecting previous state, and it's like jumps like that from one to one. And select is just selecting, deselect is just selecting. So let's say I want to select, and I can select a preset or any other action from the list to this particular step. And you can imagine you can assign a lot of presets, you can name them, you can sort them, and that's it. That's like one knob, one dial, rules everything. So this widget helps a lot to achieve the kind of similar style of 545. And as I told you, can use this template with your fingers or without your fingers. So for instance, on my launchpad, I assign the buttons to enable or disable ABCD on input, and another 4 for track effects for output. And the bottom row is opening the interface of plugins. But what if you don't have any controller? You just take in your mouse or finger, swipe to open interface, or swipe again to close it. This one a bit maybe lower, like that. And it memorizes the position of your window, so no problem. Easy. So I can just use my finger, swipe, and it's works like magic. And overall here we have a different interesting features which is not presented and which is not in front of you when you're using 545. So as you may notice, we already have more than 5 tracks. We have 15 tracks here. So let's record something. One. And here is interesting stuff. We can double the speed. One. And half. One. Or we can reverse. One. No. One. You don't need to dive into any menu. It's just here. And of course you can start all your clips at once, or stop them easily. And the really missing feature of 505 is mute and solo. This is so easy, but it's not there. So if I will record some here, one, two, and then I can solo the tracks I want. One, two, or just mute them. 2, 1, 2. That's just in front of you. And another cool feature is replays. So I will record a new take on the channel number 1, orange one. So I will record here some tonal stuff, like a long note, to demonstrate you how it works. Maybe a bit lower volume. And then I can click replays, and it's automatically enabling replays for overdub mode. So that means when I do overdubbing, it will decrease the volume of original audio to 0 and place what I have inputted with my microphone on this place. 1 1 1 1 1 1 1. Pay attention that you're not able to hear now the original humming on this track. 1 1. And if I will undo everything, 1. It's just there. Then we have balance, so it's basically panning to left and right. And when you double click, it's jumping to default position. So you just double tap on your screen and it's boom, it's back to default position. Another cool thing here is that you can select which tracks you want to manipulate. For instance, if I will record here another take, 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3. I can use a swipe 1 to right 3 4. And here's a small dot. That means this track is selected. And this particular track, I can go with a double tap. Then I can swipe here. And this one I want to go to halftime. 3 4 1 2. And I can switch it back to the previous state. And it's different because for this halftime and double time, it's affecting the whole channel, and these affects only specified tracks. That's giving you a bit more flexibility of what you want to do. So now let's speak about effects and what we should use to mimic effects of 505. Really not a so complicated task to do so. I can tell for 100% that only one single effect could replace everything from 505. One single plugin, and it will sound better. It will be more efficient than effects on 505. And guess what? Birdman used it, and you can use it on your iPad. It's called Tornado. Birdman proved stability and low latency for these effects for many years, and he still uses it. It's reliable. It's like best of the best. It has 24 effects, and you have 8 slots to play these effects inside. So let's open it. I placed on effects A. And basically, one instance of this plugin already replacing everything and one single slot for your effects, like on A. Because you can drag and drop effects, you can have 8 reverbs, and if you click on icon, you have a different algorithms for these reverbs. I don't know why you need 8 reverbs, but you can do so. And now it's time for math. How many combinations you can have? And it's with just different positions inside these slots. And I'm not speaking about even different algorithms for these effects. And if you will go deep here, oh my god, you can tweak anything. You can sequence your plugins, you can have envelope follower, LFO, LFO2, different shapes, phase, rates. It's like some crazy stuff. Even step sequencer. We can sequence our effects, right? Of course, this plugin can replace everything, but maybe we can, have a bit more. And another plugin is perfect for sequencing your effects on Loopy Pro. And I place this effect on a C, and it's called Bliss Motion Effects. This basically is the same as sequencer inside effects in 505. You can select type of effect, and then you can draw your sequence. You can change the shape of your steps. You can change the resolution of your steps, and you can change the length of your steps. So let's say I want to record with this effect something like lip roll. But what if you want not like step sequence, like with more, I can say, like smooth transitions between steps? So like envelope. We have another one. It's called Flux Pro. And this guy, oh, this is so good. You can't imagine how it's good. So you can draw here the different lines, everything like whatever you want. And if we go to presets, let's say some crazy stuff. Let's launch it.
Sequence in effects.
And in the end, I decided to add another tornado because we can stack them one on each other. And now let's see what our knobs here are doing. As you can see, it's switching a preset for our tornado. So this one is for kicks. Or we can go here and switch to the snares. Different variations. Everything is different. And you can use this preset as a starting point. Or for example, we can go to heads. And of course, you can change presets not only for A, and they corresponding to each other. So if you go here to Flux, you can switch presets here. If we go to Bliss, you can switch presets here. And if we go to this tornado, you again can switch presets here. So you can imagine you created something and boom, you switched preset and you have a new drop, a new changeover mode. And it's basically replicating the core principles of 505. Effects, record, effects preset switch, or bank switch or something like that. So far we covered all necessary effects. You can sequence your effects, you can have different slots for your effects, you can switch your presets for your effects. All main features is covered. But there is sad news. There is no possible way to replicate Oscillator Bot. Unfortunately, yes. So that's it. Thank you for watching. I hope you like this tutorial. All links will be in the description. So on the video you will be able to download your template. Goodbye. No. Instead of generating 8-bit tunes, we can use something more advanced and more pleasant for your ears. We can use actual sampler. Because Oscillator Bot is basically kind of mimicking what people would do with a sampler, like playing tunes. Not just with 16 steps, way more steps. And plugin called Bliss sample with true, and it's simple. You do and it does tunes. You know, we are all familiar with this. But of course, it's way more deeper than you think. Again, we have a dedicated button for this plugin. We just swipe on this button and plugin has appeared. Oh, and we can swipe and plugin again disappeared. That's very useful. So we have presets here, different ones, and this is so cool. Because you can tweak your preset and record each time a new sound, and it will apply the settings of a synthesizer / sampler to recorded sound, and it could give you different results. So for example, you can create preset only for basses and record different basses on it, and you will get different sounds. That's amazing. So for instance, my launchpad is connected to my iPad, right? And I can play tunes. So what I will do, I will just use one of TONAL instances and maybe add a bit of distortion, maybe a bit of reverb, turn it on. Ooh, ooh. Yeah, and I will record a lip roll. Recorded. Now I'm entering the keyboard mode on my launchpad. Then I'm adding a MIDI source. And I'm selecting my launchpad. Done. MIDI is ready to play. And then I can switch my preset for noisy sub. I actually don't remember what is that. But I will record again, same lip roll with same effects. Turn this on. This is magic. But what else we can do here? Of course we can and we need to sample our drums. This is really fun. So we can disable our sample with and switch to a next page. And we can do this by Launchpad. Or by hand. And the next page, page B, is created specially for drums. Here's the same layout for input effects or track effects, so you're not losing the control on your effects during your creation of a drums. So we will select a preset for hi-hats. It's already selected. Let's tweak it a bit. And wherever I press this square, it will listen for my input. And I map this clip to pad on my launchpad. So if I will raise it and just click here on the launchpad, we'll record it. Right. So now we can go to snares and record some snare. Right, we can go further and record kick. So now I can use my layout for launching recordings of different clips on the same surface, on the same layout of a launchpad, and let's see what happens. Just play. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now maybe hi-hat. And if I will switch to the first page, you can see it recorded here. And then I can add maybe my percussion with my mouth. Again, I will use the same preset. Again, I will use hi-hat preset. Then you may say, oh, I don't have a launchpad. How do I record the drums? So we'll go back. I will delete this. Switching back. And we can use our fingers because we have here dedicated clip for our drums, and here is an interesting button which called merge up. So what does it do? You click in the play on your project and you tap in on your screen here with these drums. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right, it's here, but if we switch back, you're not seeing anything happen right here. And you press merge up. And this is transferring your track from second screen to first one, so you're not losing any track of your main controls. And if you will need to record something else, you can go just back. And it will play on both pages. And you can even press merge up. And it will again merge the recording back to first page. This is really amazing. But what about sequencing? Because I have a Launchpad here, and Launchpad have a sequencer inside, right? We can go to sequence mode. MIDI mapping, MIDI learn, click, MIDI learn, click, MIDI learn, click, 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 click. Here maybe we'll add some boo, 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 boo. Stupid sample, right? And maybe then we can use our grid on the Launchpad. To create a pattern. So this was a kicks, snare. Of course, snare will be like that. Head. Some percussion, some crash, kinda, and some stupid sample. And now let's click play on Loopy, and it will trigger sequence synchronized with the tempo. So what about the bounce feature? It's a killer feature inside 505. We can easily achieve this. So let's record some stuff inside these bounce clips. Let's place our drums, like straight kick, like that. Let's launch the tempo. Let's record them. So I will lower a bit volume. And now let's apply some effect. For example, this one, Flux Pro, and let's go for drums. So here is the recording with effects, and here is without. So if I would disable effect here, right, and if I will play back from here, you easily can manipulate any audio and you can bounce it inside these tracks. Hey guys, this was the last video of the series about Loopy Pro. The February month of Loopy Pro is ended. I really hope you like this series. If you liked what you've seen, you can support me by subscribing to my Patreon. There will be even more content for you. I wish you great times and great music. Bye.